Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible systems that let all living things, from you and me to the plants in our gardens, sense and respond to the world around them. It's this constant, high-stakes internal conversation that, honestly, determines survival itself. So, let's start with a situation I'm pretty sure we've all been in. You accidentally touch something that is way too hot. Instantly, faster than you can even form the thought, ouch, you've already yanked your hand away. So how on earth does that happen? Well, that lightning-fast reaction, that's a clue to a much bigger story. Because that reaction, it isn't random, it's not chaos. It's a perfectly executed, incredibly controlled response. And if we unpack it, we start to see the two fundamental ways that life coordinates pretty much every single action. Okay, let's get into the first one. So system number one is the body's super fast information superhighway. You can think of it as our own internal electrical grid, the nervous system. This is the network that's responsible for all those nearly instantaneous reactions. The whole thing is built from billions, and I mean billions of these specialized cells called neurons. And you should really just think of them as living biological wires. They pick up information, they turn it into a tiny electrical pulse, and they just shoot it down their length from one part of the body to another. But here's where it gets really cool, the handover point. See, neurons don't actually touch each other. There's this tiny, tiny gap between them called a synapse. And when the electrical signal gets to the end of one neuron, it triggers the release of chemicals. These chemicals then have to jump across that gap to start a whole new electrical signal in the next cell. It's this incredible electrical to electrical relay race happening millions of times a second in your body. Okay, so let's go back to touching that hot object. Now, imagine if that pain signal had to travel all the way up your arm, into your spinal cord, then all the way up to your brain to be processed, and then the decision to move had to travel all the way back down. You'd have a really serious burn by the time that was all over. So the body has a brilliant shortcut for emergencies like this. It's called the reflex arc. You can think of it like an emergency circuit breaker. Instead of waiting for a decision from headquarters, the brain, the signal gets rerouted at the local hub, which is the spinal cord, for an immediate, no questions asked response. And this is just a beautiful illustration of that process. Your skin's heat receptors basically scream danger. A sensory neuron carries that electrical SOS all the way to the spinal cord. And the spinal cord, it doesn't wait around. It immediately fires a command right back out through a motor neuron, telling your arm muscle to contract now. And all of this happens in a tiny fraction of a second, while your brain is basically just starting to get the news that something is wrong. But okay, what about life that doesn't have nerves? A plant can't exactly snatch a leaf back from a curious insect. Their whole response system operates on a completely different timescale. So how in the world does a plant react to anything? Well, plants use a totally different system. It's not based on electricity at all, but on a much slower, more deliberate form of chemical communication. So instead of these fast movements, plants coordinate what they do through slow, purposeful growth. And this process is called tropism, basically growing towards or away from some kind of stimulus, like light or even gravity. This growth is all controlled by chemical messengers we call hormones. For example, there's a hormone called auxin that's made at the very tip of a plant's shoot. Now, when light shines on the plant from one side, the auxin actually moves over to the shady side. This buildup of auxin tells the cells on that dark side to get longer, which physically causes the entire plant to bend towards the light. It's this slow, beautiful chemical dance towards the sun. So we've got animals with their fast electrical system and plants with their slow chemical one. But here's where it gets really interesting. In animals, these two systems don't just exist side by side. They actually join forces in critical moments. Think about the classic fight-or-flight response when an animal or you senses danger. Your nervous system gives you that instant jolt of awareness, that, whoa, there's a threat moment. But it's the slower chemical hormonal system that prepares your entire body for whatever is about to happen next. And this body-wide prep is mostly done by releasing adrenaline. It's a really powerful hormone that basically acts as a body-wide alarm bell. And because it's secreted directly into your bloodstream, it can get to every single part of your body, and fast. And once that adrenaline hits, it triggers this whole cascade of changes. Your heart starts pounding to pump more oxygen-rich blood to your muscles. Your breathing gets deeper. Blood gets rerouted away from things that aren't important right now, like digestion, and sent straight to your arms and legs. Your entire body is now primed and ready for intense physical action to either fight or to get out of there. So the big idea here, the really crucial point, is that complex organisms like us are fluent in two different internal languages to control and coordinate everything they do: a fast electrical language and a slower chemical one.
The nervous system? That's like sending a targeted text message. Its electrical signal is incredibly fast, it's specific, and the effect is immediate, but it doesn't last very long. The hormonal system, on the other hand, is much more like a broadcast announcement on the radio. The chemical signal is slower to get there, sure, but it reaches almost every cell in the body, and its effects are much, much longer lasting. And it is this constant dialogue between these two systems, that quick-twitch electrical response paired with the sustained chemical preparation, that allows a complex organism to not just survive, but to truly thrive and adapt to an ever-changing world. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if it's a hand pulling back from a hot stove or a plant bending towards a window. It's all about making the right move at the right time. Every single action is an appropriate, carefully controlled response to some change in the environment. This constant conversation between an organism and its world, spoken in the languages of electricity and chemistry, is happening all around us right now in every single living thing. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to ponder. What exactly are they all saying?